everyone, welcome back. I'm really excited for this deep dive today. We're going to be talking about unlocking human potential. And this is something that I know you've been thinking a lot about based on all those podcast excerpts you sent over.
Yeah, for sure. And it seems like you've been listening to a lot of interesting stuff lately.
Yeah, for sure. Especially this one podcast, Unlocking Human Potential, I think it was called.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, I really liked it. I think it'd be awesome to kind of like break it down together and see like what it really means to reach your full potential.
Absolutely. One of the things that really struck me about that podcast was how they defined human potential. It's not about being the best, like better than everyone else.
Right.
It's about being the best version of yourself.
Yeah, that's such a good point. So it's like instead of comparing yourself to other people, you're kind of on your own track, you know?
Exactly. And they had this really cool analogy about smartphones. Remember that?
Oh, yeah.
They were saying, we're all kind of like these smartphones, but we're only using like a tiny fraction of the features.
Right, like we're walking around with these like super powerful devices, but we're only using them to like make calls and send texts.
Exactly. And the crazy thing is, this isn't just motivational fluff. They actually dive into the science behind peak performance.
So what does the science actually say about how we can like tap into all that unused potential?
Well, it all starts with the brain, specifically this thing called neuroplasticity. You've heard of that?
Yeah, I think so. It's like the brain's ability to change and adapt.
Exactly. And it happens throughout our entire lives. It's not like, our brains are just fixed after a certain age.
Right, so like learning a new language can actually like physically change your brain's structure.
Exactly. That's a perfect example.
Wow. Okay, so neuroplasticity means that like our brains can actually change. But what does that have to do with reaching my like full potential?
Well, think of it this way. If your brain can change, you can literally train it for things like better focus, more creativity, even resilience.
Interesting.
Like there are actual studies showing that things like mindfulness meditation can actually increase the gray matter in areas of the brain that are associated with things like self-awareness and decision-making.
Wow, so it's not just about like, feeling good. It's about actually changing how our brains are wired.
Exactly. It's pretty amazing stuff.
It really is. This is kind of reminding me of those times when, like, I'm writing and I get totally lost in it. Like, hours just disappear. Is that, like, connected to this at all?
You're describing flow state, and
Oh.
yeah, it's absolutely related.
Cool. Tell me more about flow state.
So flow happens when you're so engrossed in an activity that everything else just fades away. Like you said, time flies by.
Yes, exactly.
Not only does it feel amazing, but studies show it can actually boost your productivity and creativity.
Okay, so we've got neuroplasticity rewiring our brains, and we've got flow states making us like super productive. What else is going on in our bodies when we're reaching, peak performance?
But we can't forget about our hormones.
Right.
They play a huge role in things like our energy levels, our focus, even our mood.
Right, like dopamine and cortisol and stuff like that. I know those are connected to things like stress and motivation, but how do we actually like optimize our hormones to reach our potential?
Well, that podcast really emphasizes lifestyle factors
Okay. Like what?
like sleep, nutrition, and exercise.
Makes sense.
They all directly impact those crucial hormones.
Right.
Like, for example, even a small amount of exercise can release endorphins. And those endorphins improve your mood and reduce stress, which makes it easier to focus on your goals.
So it's all about like finding that balance and like giving your body what it needs to function at its best.
Exactly.
Makes sense. But it can't just be about biology, right?
Oh, yeah.
There's got to be like a mental component to this too.
Absolutely. And that's where mindset comes in, specifically cultivating a growth mindset.
Ooh, growth mindset. I've heard that term before, but like, remind me, what does it actually mean to have a growth mindset?
Basically, it's the belief that you can always improve through effort and learning. Challenges become opportunities to grow instead of setbacks.
I like that.
Instead of saying, I'm not good at this, you say, I'm not good at this yet.
I love that. So it's about focusing on the journey, not just the destination. Okay, so how do we actually put all of this science and mindset into practice? Like, what are the actual steps to unlock this potential?
Well, the podcast gets pretty practical here. They talk about setting stretch goals, for example.
Stretch goals, so like aiming higher than what feels comfortable, pushing past those like self-imposed limits.
Exactly. It's about setting goals that require you to grow and expand your skills.
Okay, so we're setting these big, ambitious goals, but it's not just about setting them, all right? It's also about how we, like, approach them.
Right. They have to be broken down into smaller, actionable steps.
Okay, that makes sense. So big goals broken down into, like, manageable chunks.
Mm.
What else? I remember them mentioning something about, like, morning routines.
Yes, starting your day strong is key. They suggest incorporating things like exercise, meditation, or journaling into your morning routine.
You know what? I actually started meditating every morning a few weeks ago,
Oh, wow.
and it's been a game changer. It really sets me up for a more, like, focused and intentional day.
That's fantastic. And it leads perfectly into the next technique, deliberate practice.
Okay, deliberate practice. What's that all about?
So it's about being intentional with how you spend your time and energy, not just going through the motions, but practicing with a specific goal in mind.
So not just, like, mindlessly doing something over and over again.
Exactly. Think of a skill you want to improve. Deliberate practice means breaking it down, focusing on specific areas, and practicing with like really focused attention.
Okay, so you're, like, strategically improving instead of just hoping to get better. Makes sense. And it's not just, like, what we do, it's also about the environment we're in, right?
Absolutely. The podcast talks about optimizing your environment for success.
Yeah. Like, for me, clutter just totally kills my productivity. I need a clean, inspiring workspace to, like, really get things done.
Right. It's about being mindful of your surroundings and how they affect your work.
And of course, we can't forget about technology in this day and age.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Everywhere.
Technology can be a powerful tool, but it can also be a huge distraction.
Oh, yeah, totally. Like,
Yeah.
constantly checking your phone and stuff.
Exactly. So the key is to leverage it intentionally. They suggest using technology to, like, track your progress, stay organized, and, eliminate distractions.
Right. Like, there are so many great apps out there that can help us stay focused and motivated. It's all about using them strategically instead of letting them control us. Okay, so we've got all the science, and we've got these practical techniques. But what about, like, real-world examples? Who are these people who have truly unlocked their potential? Like, who should we be looking up to?
Well, the podcast uses Elon Musk and Serena Williams as examples.
Oh, yeah, they're, like, at the top of their game.
Right.
It's so inspiring to see how they, like, push boundaries and just keep striving for more.
Absolutely.
But, their success didn't happen overnight, right? Like, it took a ton of dedication and discipline. What kind of, like, daily habits are we talking about here?
Well, they suggest 3 key habits: morning visualization, evening reflection, and lifelong learning.
Morning visualization. Okay. So, like, start each day by visualizing your, like, ideal day and who you want to be.
Right.
It seems a little woo-woo, but I'm, like, willing to give it a try. What's the science behind it? Like, how does that actually work?
Well, it's not just wishful thinking. Visualization actually primes your brain for success. When you vividly imagine achieving a goal, you're strengthening the neural pathways associated with that goal,
Mhm.
which makes it more likely that you'll actually take action.
So you're basically creating a mental blueprint for success.
Exactly.
I like it. Okay, so we've got morning visualization. What about evening reflection? What does that involve?
It's about taking a few minutes each evening to kind of review your day. You know what went well, what you learned, and what you can do better tomorrow.
It's like a little check-in with yourself to make sure you're still on the right track.
Exactly.
Makes sense. Okay, and then there's lifelong learning.
Yeah.
I'm all about that, like reading, podcasts, online courses. There are so many ways to keep learning and growing these days.
Absolutely.
But how does this all connect back to unlocking our potential?
Well, lifelong learning keeps your mind sharp and adaptable,
Right.
which are like essential traits for navigating this, ever-changing world. And maximizing your potential. It's about embracing curiosity and recognizing that there's always more to learn, more to explore, more to discover.
That's so true. It's like that saying, the more you learn, the more you realize you don't know.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. We've talked about the science of peak performance, practical techniques for unlocking potential, and even inspiring examples of, those who are living proof that it's possible to achieve extraordinary things. But what else is there?
Well, there's one more crucial element that podcast addresses, shifting our perspective on success.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What's their take on success?
They argue that, true success isn't about external validation or meeting someone else's definition of achievement.
So it's not about, like, the fancy job title or the big paycheck.
Exactly. It's about internal fulfillment, reaching your full potential as an individual.
So living a life that feels like authentic and purposeful, regardless of what society might, dictate.
Precisely. And that looks different for everyone. What feels like success to you might not resonate with someone else, and vice versa.
That's so important. It's about like defining success on our own terms
Yeah.
and pursuing goals that are aligned with our like unique values and aspirations. But I have to ask,
Let's say.
if it's all about like internal fulfillment, how do we know we're on the right track? Like, how do we measure progress when there's no like external yardstick?
That's a great question, and one the
Yeah.
podcast addresses directly. They talk about the importance of aligning your actions with your values.
So it's not just about setting any goal, it's about choosing goals that like truly resonate with who you are and what you believe in.
Exactly. When your goals are aligned with your values, the journey itself becomes more fulfilling. You're not just, chasing success. You're living in a way that feels authentic to you.
That makes a lot of sense. It's like even if you face, setbacks or challenges, you're more likely to persevere if you're like deeply connected to the why behind your goals. But it's not always easy to stay motivated, is it? Especially when the going gets tough.
You're absolutely right. And that's where the podcast emphasizes the importance of resilience and adaptability.
So it's not about avoiding failure, it's about learning how to bounce back from those, inevitable setbacks.
Precisely. Life throws curveballs, and sometimes our plans go awry. It's about developing the mental and emotional tools to navigate those challenges, learn from them, and keep moving forward.
That reminds me of the growth mindset we talked about earlier. It's that belief that we can always improve, that setbacks are just opportunities for learning and growth.
Exactly. It's about seeing challenges as stepping stones, not roadblocks. And, the podcast makes a great point about the importance of your social circle in cultivating this kind of resilience.
Oh, interesting. So who we surround ourselves with actually impacts our ability to like unlock our potential? How so?
Think about it. If you're constantly surrounded by negativity, doubt, and people who, resist change, it's going to be much harder to maintain a growth mindset and stay motivated on your own journey.
That makes a lot of sense. It's like if everyone around you is saying you can't do that, it's hard to believe that you can. But if you're surrounded by people who are constantly challenging themselves, growing, and achieving their goals, it creates a totally different energy.
Precisely. It's about building a supportive community where you can share ideas, learn from each other's experiences, and celebrate each other's successes.
That's such a powerful idea. And it kind of reminds me of the concept of mentorship. Finding people who have already walked the path you're on, that can be incredibly helpful, right?
Absolutely. Mentors and role models can provide invaluable guidance, support, and inspiration. They can offer insights from their own journeys, share lessons learned, and help you navigate the inevitable challenges along the way.
It's like having a map and a compass when you're like venturing into uncharted territory. But I'm guessing mentors don't always have to be people we know personally, right?
Right. Sometimes our greatest mentors are like authors, speakers, historical figures, or even fictional characters whose stories resonate with us and inspire us to strive for more.
So it's about finding those sources of inspiration and guidance that help us stay motivated and committed to our journey of like growth and self-discovery.
Exactly. It's about surrounding ourselves with voices that encourage us to be our best selves, whether those voices come from people in our immediate lives or from those who have left their mark on the world in other ways.
So we've talked about the importance of mindset, environment, and support systems. But I'm curious, what about concrete action? What are some specific things we can do to unlock our potential?
Well, the podcast offers a variety of techniques, but one that they really emphasize is the importance of taking consistent action.
Makes sense. It's not enough to just dream about it. We have to actually do something, right?
Exactly. It's about taking those dreams and turning them into concrete steps. It's about stepping outside of our comfort zones, trying new things, and taking calculated risks.
So it's about embracing the unknown and being willing to like experiment and learn along the way. But sometimes that can feel like overwhelming. Where do we even begin?
The podcast suggests breaking down your goals into smaller, more manageable steps. Focus on making consistent progress, even if it's just a little bit each day, and don't forget to celebrate those small wins along the way.
I love that. It's so easy to get caught up in the end goal and forget to acknowledge all the little victories that get us there. But if we can like focus on those small wins, it helps us stay motivated and keeps the momentum going, right?
Precisely. It's about finding joy in the journey, not just the destination. And remember, progress isn't always linear. There will be setbacks, obstacles, and detours along the way.
That's true. Sometimes it feels like we're taking two steps forward and then one step back. But it's important to remember that those challenges are all part of the learning process, right?
Absolutely. It's about developing resilience, adaptability, and the ability to learn from our mistakes.
The podcast actually reframes failure in a really interesting way. They say that failure is not the opposite of success.
But a stepping stone to success.
Exactly. It's about viewing setbacks as opportunities for growth and using them to, like, refine our approach, learn new skills, and ultimately become more resilient and capable. And it all circles back to that core message of the podcast. Unlocking our potential is a lifelong journey.
It's not a destination we arrive at, but a continuous process of growth, evolution, and self-discovery.
It's about embracing the unknown, challenging ourselves, and striving to become the best possible versions of ourselves.
And that journey is unique for each and every one of us.
It's about identifying our strengths, acknowledging our weaknesses, and creating a plan for growth that is tailored to our individual needs and aspirations.
The podcast emphasizes the importance of self-awareness and self-reflection.
It's about taking the time to understand ourselves, our values, our motivations, and our goals, and then using that understanding to create a roadmap for our personal and professional development.
It's about making conscious choices that align with our values and move us closer to our goals.
And it's about being willing to adapt and adjust our course along the way.
Because life is full of surprises and unexpected turns.
So we've talked about the science, the strategies, the real-world examples, and the daily habits.
We've explored the importance of mindset, environment, support systems, and taking consistent action.
But ultimately, the key takeaway from this deep dive is this.
Unlocking your potential is not about achieving some external measure of success.
It's about becoming the best possible version of yourself.
It's about living a life that feels authentic, purposeful, and fulfilling.
And it's a journey that is well worth taking.
So as you reflect on everything we've discussed today, I encourage you to ask yourself this question.
What is one small step I can take today to, move closer to the best version of myself?
That's the question.
Yeah.
And, it doesn't have to be this huge, massive leap.
Right.
Even a small, intentional step in the right direction can make a really big difference over time.
Thinking back on everything we've talked about, it's almost like there's this, blueprint for unlocking potential, but it's not like one size fits all.
Exactly. It's more like a set of guidelines.
Okay.
A framework that you can adapt to your own unique situation.
So it's not about following someone else's recipe for success. It's more about creating your own path based on, what truly resonates with you.
Precisely. It's about taking all of this information that we've talked about, the science, the strategies, the inspiring examples, and figuring out how it applies to your own life,
Right.
your own goals, your own definition of success.
It's almost like a choose your own adventure book for personal growth.
So I love that.
You get to decide which path to explore, which challenges to embrace, which skills to develop.
I love that analogy. And just like in those books, there will be twists and turns, unexpected obstacles, and maybe even a few dead ends along the way. But that's all part of the adventure.
It's about embracing the journey with all its ups and downs and knowing that every experience, every challenge, every setback, it's all an opportunity to learn and grow.
And that's what makes it so exciting. There's no limit to how much you can learn, how much you can grow, how much you can achieve, when you really embrace that journey of unlocking your potential.
So what's that one small step you challenge our listeners to take today?
Well, it could be something as simple as setting
Yeah.
a small, achievable goal for the week, something that aligns with their values and just moves them a little closer to the person they want to become.
Or maybe it's about incorporating a new habit into their daily routine.
Yes.
Something that supports their well-being and enhances their productivity, like that morning meditation practice you mentioned.
Yeah.
Or perhaps it's, reaching out to someone they admire, a potential mentor, a role model, even a friend who embodies that growth mindset, and just starting a conversation.
Yeah, those are all great ideas.
The key is to take action, to make that conscious choice to move forward on that path of personal growth. Even a tiny step can create this ripple effect that leads to some really incredible transformations over time.
Remember, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step.
And who knows, that one small step might just be the beginning of an extraordinary adventure. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into unlocking human potential.
We hope you found it insightful and inspiring.
And we can't wait to see what you achieve as you continue on your own journey of growth and self-discovery.